And it's always good when chapel is better attended than a state of the school. But that doesn't count all the people who are probably online. Katrina is up there. We're very excited about this year. Not only are we starting a new strategic plan, but we have new members of our team who really surround me with the brains that God didn't give me. And the hard work that they do is evident here. If you all will, you can stay seated, Ann. I think everybody knows you. Ann just had surgery, and the pain is still there, so I'm trying to make her not move it. But if everybody will stand, Katrina is up in the booth, so she is showing her work off as I speak. So this slide shows her. So this is everybody who helps make decisions. They're the ones that have a hand on the wheel of the ship so that when we need to turn it, we can turn it quickly or stay the course. And as you all know, for the last 5 years, as we completed last year's strategic plan, many of them were here for the beginning of it, and as we finished it, they were all here. So Marie started right at the beginning of the school year. Katrina's been with us 1.5 years. Wow. Tyson just started, also sort of at the beginning of the fall, and then you know the rest of the team who is here with us. So thank you guys for all that you do, and let us look at what we have come up with for our next strategic plan. As you know, this is something that guides us through the good times and the bad. As we went through COVID, trying to figure out if it was worth adding another classroom that we call the Hive, that some people can't stop calling Danko or the bank. It was in our strategic plan. So we were able to go back during COVID to see what it is that we can do to continue creating our community in the midst of what we did, but also expanding our facilities, which in that strategic plan was one of the number one objectives, was about the facilities. The excitement in this one will be probably about the new facilities, but we are trying to focus more on what got us here and making it stronger and stronger every day. So our mission and vision changed just a little bit easier to say. Our mission, I've always said, is our teachers. This is what happens day to day to day. They're the ones that embrace our values. They're the ones that inspire learning in the classroom and encourage growth, not just of their minds, but as we have noticed, their bodies grow pretty fast around here too. And then our vision is our children. If you see St. Benedict's shirt, you should see out in the community. You should see, and the people around you should see, curious, compassionate, confident, independent thinkers. They're respectful of diversity, and they're grounded in faith. So this is a great testament, I think, since I started when Ann was in a Little League group. A group of coaches said, if you get a St. B's kid, you've got a great teammate. So I think that continues on as we have grown and continue to grow in all kinds of ways. Our values, I'm going to turn this over to Angela. She is our academic chair. She brought up this idea that to know who we are and what we're about, we also need to tie that to our values when we hire, as well as during our admissions.
All right, welcome everybody. So you may remember some of the feedback that we solicited from you on, what you value about St. Benedict's, and we talked to the students, we talked to the faculty. So we did this about 1 year ago in trying to whittle it down, if you will, because there's so many more values than just these, but we came up with these 5: belonging, kindness, grace, respect, and integrity. And we took this a step further in the middle school this year, and we have houses in the middle school. So right away, another way for the students to belong. So not only they're part of St. B's, they're part of the grade level, they're part of 5th grade, they're part of 7th grade, but now they're also part of a house, and those houses are grades 5 through 7, mixed grouping, and so then that brings in the diversity and the inclusivity as well, and the students love it. The house events are competitive and in good fun, and we named all of our houses around our values. So whereas you may, snag a 6th grader and say, what are St. Benedict's values? Typically they would probably be like, don't know because all I'm thinking about is TikTok, right? But they do know because they know it's the house of integrity, the house of grace, the house. So it has been a really good way to infuse those values into everything that we do.
Every strategic plan sort of has buckets where things land. We call them our focus areas. And these are our 4 big ones. Obviously, we wouldn't be here if we didn't put students first. So this is the first focus group, not only on their academics, but their social emotional learning. Focus 2, we wouldn't keep students if we didn't have good faculty. So making sure that our faculty stay. I always joke that the faces up here could change from time to time, not all at once, and people would be, okay, that makes sense, but if we change a teacher, I'm in this room talking about why we've changed a teacher. So you all and our kids are tied to that experience, and a lot of research has shown that that's really where the learning happens. It happens with the connection with the teacher, the love and support and encouragement, and all the things that you do in your home happen here in the classroom, as well as who they surround themselves with, which is our focus area number 3, aligning our students with friends. So you all are a big part of making sure that your friend group stays for what it is, and Tyson's going to talk a little bit about admissions and how that's really important when you're on the soccer field and you're hanging out with your friends around a fire pit, sipping on something. Those little kids running around you are hopefully in the classroom, but if they're not, encourage them. This is a place where we try to grow our friends groups and community partners. And then focus number 3 is the organizational excellence and uniqueness. That's really the 30,000 feet high. Our board chair, Dorothy Sullivan, is here with us. That includes governance, which is a big part of that. And as you hear her last name and my last name, I continue to have to stand in the river and say, we are not related. I did not put my mom did not hire me as the head of school. She is an educator, has been for life. And she has a big name on a building over at Holy Innocents, and has been a big part of a lot of children's lives as they've come through a classroom, and her as an administrator. So we're very lucky to have a strong board with her at the helm. So after our focus areas, we have different objectives. Again, objective number 1 is our students, and there's nobody better to talk about that than Ann Szymanski.
I thought there was more slides. Are you going to go through those?
Oh, yeah, that is, objective 1.
Who has the clicker? Okay. Good morning. I love the subject that I'm going to speak to you about this morning, and that's the model that we are as a preschool through 8th grade school. It's one of my favorite things to talk about, and I never have enough time to fully go into all the things I want to say about it. So I invite you to take me up on an offer for a cup of coffee or a phone call or a time to come and meet to talk more about why I believe this model is so important. I've always loved this model as an administrator. When my own children came through St. Benedict's and I saw it as a parent, I had a new perspective on it. And I learned that I appreciated it even more. Some of the reasons why I appreciate that model, if we can go to the next slide, is that is a lot, because whether you're a parent of a preschooler or whether you're the parent of a middle schooler, I feel like it has a place. As a preschool parent, you know we're not just looking at pre-K or kindergarten as the end goal for where your child is and planning just to that space. We are looking all the way through to a student that's going to be starting high school. So we are looking much beyond the preschool years. As a middle school parent, I think it's important because your children don't fall through cracks here. And I think that's what middle schoolers want to do, is they want to go into the cracks. And they don't want to be seen, and they don't want people to see them, and they don't want everybody to talk to them, and they just want to go into their devices and TikToks or whatever it is that they do these days. And what we do is we pull them out of those spaces, and we see them and we recognize them. We give them a safe place to fail. We understand that that is what they do and that is what they are supposed to do. And being in a place where they're loved and where they're nurtured and where there is grace is a very important message for them to hear. And they're forming these compasses that they take them into high school. And when they go into high school, they are then going into a space where a lot more is going to be thrown at them. However, they've heard the safeness, they've heard the place to fail, they've heard the love and the redemption and the grace and the mercy that comes with being the Episcopal Church and Episcopal school. And that is the message that I think is so clear. And when I talk to kids that are in college, what they remember the most is the teachers that showed them that love and that nurturing and that kindness and that grace. And that happens every year. When we sat down and talked about the values, we talked about the portrait of a graduate. The portrait of a graduate, I think, is important for us to think about regardless of when children are leaving us, whether it's going from pre-K to kindergarten. Can you run to that next slide? Or kindergarten to first grade, or even 8th grade to 9th grade. We want to see at the end of every year are these core characteristic values and these things that we want to instill in them every year that they're here. But we really want them to have these things in place when they leave and go to high school. We want them to understand diversity, not just what that word means, but what it looks like. We want them to understand inclusion. We want them to understand what true kindness is. And you don't have to be friends with everybody, but you sure do have to be nice to everybody. And some of those just core values of being things that we feel like are important. And we met with the teachers during pre-planning, and we came up with this list. And these are things that transfer through every grade, that translate through every year. And they're just very important things that we have for goals for them. When we come to the year to outplace, we start meeting with families at the end of 7th grade, and we have a webinar where we talk about what the outplacement process looks like. And then we have individual meetings where we talk to families about what that outplacement plan is. I give a monthly prescriptive of every month you have a job and you have a task, which breaks that into pieces for families and for students, so you're not immediately overwhelmed with the whole process of what goes into applying into high school. And we're very successful. So the next slide is going to show you the last 2 years of matriculation where our children have gone. We started out in the early years having a little bit more of a 50-50 split with independent schools and the public and magnet programs. One parent asked me last night why I think that trend is changing, and we have a lot more of the public magnet acceptances right now, and I think because they are in the county very smartly beefing up those programs, and they're doing a really great job of making sure that families feel like that there are options for rigorous academic experiences that do not necessarily have to cost $27,000 to $30,000 a year. And we are very successful with those programs. So you can see the number of children in the last 2 years that have gone into the public magnet versus the independent. I will share with you that beyond this pie graph of pretty colors, for the last 3 years, we've had 100% acceptance rate for every independent school for 9th grade that children have applied into. So no matter where they've applied for an independent school, they've gotten in. And we have a board member who is very entrenched in the Cobb County middle school system, the Cobb County school system. She was sharing at a board meeting that Campbell Middle School had less children accepted into the Campbell IB program than we did last year. So we are doing really well with these outplacement. I'm at the place now where the schools are calling and asking me if they can come and talk to the kids. That's always a really great sign in the community that our kids are seen as a special breed, and they are seen for what it is that we are working to do. These are some of the schools. The first slide was some of the schools, the independent schools that the kids have gone to. The second slide were some of the public and magnet schools. Cobb has 7 magnet schools. A lot of families don't even know that many exist. If you live in this area, you probably only know about Campbell IB, but there's 6 others. And so we work to help you find the right one for you. And that's the Cobb Academic Division logo that's in the middle. Riverwood and North Atlanta, those are just IB schools that are in Fulton County, and those are able to, we have families that have paid the yearly annual tuition to go into those schools. So even though they're not zoned and don't live in Fulton County, that's an option for some families. The other option that I present to a lot of families is Marietta High School. You can do the same thing. If you're not zoned to live in Marietta, you still want the public school experience, but you don't want magnet. There are options, and so there's a lot of things that we can work through when we're talking about outplacement, and we can work with you to make sure that we find the right place for you and for your children. And then the next slide are some of the colleges. We are being a lot more intentional. You'll hear more about a new role we've added this year as an alumni coordinator, and working to make sure we're keeping in touch with some of our students. Personally, I had a few tears of joy listening to one of the podcasts where another Shemansky was interviewed as part of that. If you haven't listened to that, I think it's really fun just to listen to these kids and the joy and the love that they have for that's genuine and that is real. And when they come together, there's that unspeakable bond that you don't see in a lot of places. And so we are doing a really great job right now, an intentional job of keeping up with where they go for college. The first graduating class is our seniors in college right now, which is really hard to believe. So we'll figure out what they go on and do from there. And Christine will help us keep up with what they're doing and turn that into a celebration over the 15 years.
Thank you. So as Anne mentioned, we're really excited. It's hard to believe that next year is the 15th academic year of our, Stephanie Alvarez, Director of Development, I'm sorry. So next year kicks off the 15th academic year for our school. As Anne mentioned, we hired a coordinator of alumni. So she's been, you may have seen some emails asking you for milestones or pictures. There's just things that have happened throughout the years because we are creating a landing page with this great timeline of everything we've done. But you will start to receive, probably towards the summer, just some invitations to really great events throughout the year to celebrate our anniversary.
So as we continue to sort of stay as a streamlined administrative team, there's only so many of us can do, and as Stephanie said, we add part-time jobs along the way. Many of you probably are not aware, since I arrived here, that we have been working on diversity, and part of trying to make that something that we measure, something that we continue to train. Being belonging is one of our biggest values. We started an affinity group of parents, African American parents, right when I first started as head of school. And in that group was a parent who has a doctorate in this work, in this field, as well as women's studies. She has been a director of diversity at another Episcopal school. She's now at Galloway. Her kids, one graduated from here. She's hoping her other child will graduate from here. And she has been helping us with this work. So when there's an issue in a classroom, Dr. Russell is usually with me. If there is a training pre-planning, she's usually the one that leads it. And what we've realized is as we've gotten more and more mature and we've used a lot of those to increase our competencies in this area, having someone here full-time so that everyone feels that they belong is a big part of the next step. So DEI right now is sort of a lightning rod for a lot of different things. What I want to make sure that you all have a message of is we're not changing. This isn't a change, this is just a progression as 650 students are now enrolled here with as many teachers as we have, making sure someone's focused on how Smyrna stays Smyrna. Part of the reason I think a lot of us moved here was because of the diversity and what we see around us and who's in our neighborhoods, and the fact that that's what reflects in our offices. That's sort of what we're trying to do with our kids. When they get into the workforce, when they're sitting at a board, when they're sitting in a group, they can look around and go, this is weird, it doesn't look like my school. Everyone looks the same, or everyone sort of has the same thoughts, or the same religion, or the same gender, or the same gender affinity. All those things go into what makes St. Benedict's who we are today. And this is just ensuring that we continue doing that. Back to our objective number one with our students, and objective number two with our faculties. And then our top value being belonging. And then, as all of us have wondered, we have a safety director who is sort of consulting us. We've had companies that have come in and consulted us. Denard was here last night on the front row, and he has been helping us further that. This next hire is going to be someone who can do all of that when bad things happen in the world. Are we learning from what's happened out there? Making sure it doesn't happen here, as well as running carpool. So when you miss Polly out there in the front and this person is standing there, this is what we're aiming for. When chapel starts, having somebody who's sort of around and making sure the doors are secure, going around and just keeping their eyes on the neighborhood. A lot of these directors get to know the neighbors very well, and we're looking for someone who really fits who we are, that the kids can run up to and say hi to, and it's not just a very automatic soldier-looking individual, but somebody who has a lot of love and compassion for children, as well as a deep understanding and experience in safety and security. So these are going to be our two next hires. One of our candidates showed up last night, which is very interesting, and Denard is going to help us this summer. That position will start July 1st, so we won't see them unless it's an incredible person and they have to leave right away. Our fiscal year begins July 1st, so that's what's in the budget. Again, this is objective number 2. It's all about our faculty as well as what they are pouring into our kids in the classroom, and there's no one better to talk about that than Angela, our academic chair.
Thank you. You can go to the next slide. All right, so you know that, again, there's a long list of things that make St. Bees unique. This is just a few of the things that we wanted to highlight to let you know, is happening in the classrooms. Hopefully you're able to keep up with a lot of these things on social media and see little peeks at what we're doing. Anne said it really well. Our students are known here, and I think you know that just from those conversations around the dinner table. Along with that, kind of jump into the next column, Bee Buddies. So not only are our students known within their grade level and their classroom, but we really want to bridge those gaps and bridge those grade levels. Also our campuses. So our older students come over here once a month, meet with their Bee Buddies, and those are fantastic opportunities for mentorship and leadership with our middle school students. As always, we have our 2 dedicated teachers in every classroom up through 3rd grade. We transition out of that in 3rd grade as the students start to become a little bit more independent into 4th grade and middle school. High teacher retention averages. Our Spanish program is fantastic. We start that with preschool 3s, and then that becomes a core class in kindergarten all the way through 8th grade. Our students are earning a high school credit for Spanish 1, but they are well into the curriculum for Spanish 2 in 8th grade, and so as they're departing and heading into high school, they're certainly testing either into Spanish 2 or even Spanish 3, depending upon their ability and how far they want to take their Spanish career. Co-curriculars in preschool, not always common, but we're really intentional about that on a weekly basis for them, because what's more fun than 3-year-olds in music or PE? Personal relationships and family atmosphere, I hope that you all could speak to that. Certainly that is a high priority for all of us. Our STEAM program, thriving. Hopefully you're able to see some of that on social media. I know most recently Katrina had posted some of the STEAM activities that our Spanish department was doing, creating some mechanical hands and learning about the body parts and how to say that in Spanish. And so really easy ways to infuse integration in our classrooms, and our teachers are really becoming experts at that. Mr. Chris is leading that charge in a great way. Teaching students to read, our K-2 differentiated reading groups. What that means is that we're going to meet your child where they are, where they come in reading, whether that's even in preschool, but in kindergarten through 2nd grade, those are those foundational years for reading. And that is the basis for all of their learning from here on out. Likewise, grammar instruction and writing instruction. What we see from a lot of students that come into us at whatever grade level it is that grammar is not always the focus. We remember, right? Did you all love grammar? No, nobody really loves learning that grammar, that rote instruction, but it's just so essential to every single one of our careers. It's essential to becoming a good writer, and so we start that in 1st grade. And cursive instruction, again, also something that is out there for debate, but we're not going to ever let go of it. So students are going to get that cursive instruction here at St. Benedict's in 3rd grade, and that's really important. We mentioned our inclusivity is highly prioritized here, and not just a box that you check, right? Diversity and inclusivity. Those are things that's why we added that belonging piece, right? You could have programs in place for things like that, but if we're not prioritizing belonging in that, then we're not doing our job. And then learning support. Again, meeting your children where they are, whether they are needing some additional support or whether they need that academic challenge. That's our goal. So if you want to take out your phones, these are some additional places that they'll just guide you right to it. You can scan the QR code on these next few slides. Ann and I most recently did a webinar for the ERB testing program. And we do ERB testing. That's our standardized testing that we do once a year. We do it in the fall, and that's for grades 3 through 8. In 3rd and 4th, it is a paper pencil test, and then in 5th grade through 8th grade, it transitions to a computerized test. So if you'd like to see what that's about, if you are, a parent of a young child and you think that's coming up for you eventually, there's a webinar there that you can take a look at. We offer this webinar up every year to answer any questions that you may have. I mentioned a little bit about our STEAM program. It's going to lead you to a really fantastic website that you may or may not have seen. Mr. Chris works with Katrina to keep up a separate STEAM website. It's a page on our our own website, and it's really going to highlight all of the different things that we are doing. When Mr. Chris came on, we were at those first baby steps of becoming a STEAM school, and so our goal is, with our next round of accreditation, that we'll be STEAM accredited as well. And athletics, our athletics program is also growing, so we're really excited. We started a new team in the fall, and the students get really excited about that. That was our volleyball team, and so they're like, yes, we're the founding, players. And so we are always asking our middle school students, how can you become leaders? What can you do? What do you want your school to be? And that has been, realized with athletics. And so we're always open to new teams as long as we can find, enough interest and places to play. So those QR codes are going to guide you to additional information if you want to explore that. I'm going to turn it over to Tyson to talk a little bit about admission.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. And I am Tyson Font. I am the new Director of Enrollment Management here at St. Benedict's. I am honored and excited to be here. I love this school. This school is a beacon of hope in our community, and it's just fantastic to be here. And one of the things that sort of thrilled me about the opportunity to be here was thinking about the fact that now my daughter goes to school here, and I hear her above my office in the 2nd grade classroom stomping and playing and learning. So as a helicopter dad, I know exactly where she is. When she's not stomping, she's on the playground. And so that it pulls up my heartstring in a different kind of way, because as I'm talking to prospective families, I can share that with them as well, and they know that this is the right place for them and their families. And I also want to help us to expand that. And as you see the QR code here, please scan that and refer another family. Spread the word, spread the light. Don't hide your light under a bushel. Let it shine, right? and expand our community, because we are a community here. We want to continue growing, but we've actually hit our deadline, as you can see right there, for the 23rd for our preschool application deadline, but our K through 8 deadline is still out there, so there's still time to refer a family to continue helping us grow, okay? If you have any questions whatsoever, you've seen me on social media, you've seen the different posts and the buzz, click a link, schedule some time to converse with me, talk about the application process. If you have feedback about your process, and you want to share that with me, you want to have a conversation, come to my office, whatever the case may be, I'm here to speak with you all, okay? Thank you all.
And then these are our next 2 objectives out of 5, and this want to make sure that you understand 1, 2, and 3 are things that you probably have heard all along, and we are just making that better. As we move into this phase of our school history, you all are all going to be a part of that. This is a community endeavor, and this is how we're going to do it.
No pressure.
This is the plan.
I guess I should grab the clicker too. Hi everybody, I'm Christy Brown. I've been here as the person who does finance and strategy and fundraising for the school for 8 years now. which is really crazy. I would lose track, except I always remember when I first started, I had a 6-month-old who's now 8.5. And then you guys have met Stephanie, and so we're going to just kind of talk to you a little bit about Objective 3 and 4. We put them together in this slide on purpose because one can't exist without the other. And really that expanding the facilities is all about meeting the needs of the kids in a new way, not just about growing larger.
We started the capital campaign by imagining. Imagine what this school would look like with a new piece of property, and we could spread everyone out across all the properties. And with your help, we were able to get approved. We closed on this property. It is now ours. Now let's imagine some more. Imagine what this property will look like with a middle school building on it. Imagine classrooms the size that they can fit in. Imagine lockers. Imagine them moving through the hallways. Imagine an auditorium big enough to play basketball in. Imagine a field where they can run out of class, play sports, get the wiggles out. Imagine a carpool that actually runs smoothly. Imagine your child being in this brand new building on this property that we now own. Let's imagine this together. It's hard to know what's on the other side, but together we can imagine it. The leadership team is in, our faculty and staff are all in. I'm in. Are you in?
All right. So I love that video, besides it being just so cute with all those kitties. I think it really gives a great aerial shot of that property. For those of you that are new, you may have seen that big billboard kind of across from that park, and that is the future home of our middle school. It's really deceptive looking at it from that angle. It looks like there's just that one home, but there's actually 4 homes on that property. Last Friday, we just put 0.6 acres under contract that's right next to that property. That'll bring us to about 5 acres, which is huge. To give you an idea, it is larger than the current property that we are on. If you ever want to take a walk on that tour, we are happy to give you, there's a nice path that the cross-country team uses to run that we can walk you through and show you just how large that is.
So yeah, I just want to say one more time, we've got the 0.6 acres under contract as of Friday. Whew. So it's very exciting, and I love to see the aerial footage, and that doesn't even include that extra little sliver. So we are kicking off a capital campaign. It will officially start with all of its grand plans in the fall, but we really want people to go ahead and participate. There's a lot of people in this room who have already pledged to the capital campaign. And because of them, we are in a place where this is really happening. Like, they have set the groundwork. We have already raised $3 million towards this $7.5 million goal. So we have phased it into 2 phases. In the first phase, it's $7.5 million. And I should say, this is also not just about expanding the middle school. With the new building, we will be able to move students across all of our existing campuses to give every student more room to play and learn and have specials and have all of the things that you really want your kids to be able to have. And so while we're very excited about the new middle school building, this is really about all of the students and all of the facilities. Here's our current campus. So this is phase 1. So phase 1 is designed to get little feet on there as quickly as possible. And some of our kids have bigger feet. But for what we're going to be doing is just raising $7.5 million. And we'll put the full infrastructure in for the building and have the kids out there using it as an outdoor innovation lab, learning space, but also for sports and recreation, summer camps, clubs, you name it. So this first phase will include all of the parking that we'll need for the building. It'll include a cross-country loop, an outdoor basketball court, and then there will also be bathrooms out there. We are hoping to be able to expand our innovation and STEAM program by having an outdoor learning classroom That's kind of outside of the capital campaign. This is just part of our STEAM and innovation project. But you know us, we like to merge everything. So we're putting that here so that you can kind of get an idea of what that would look like. It would provide the kids with a shaded spot with fans, electricity, a storage area for all of our innovation equipment that can open and then be locked. So at this point, to do all of this, the total cost is estimated to be $7.5 million. We've already raised $3 million in the silent phase. That truly happened from the community around you. About 40 people have already given. We're estimated to raise about $1.8 million from outside donors, professional donors. But they have asked us to get to at least 65% before they will really have formal conversations with us. So we're about 1.875, but who's counting, away from getting to 65%. And as soon as we do that, we will be able to start to formalize these conversations. And Stephanie and I, we joked that we are a little bit crazy people with the fundraising.
Yeah.
And
So we were being funny, joking. We're like, what does that math look like, right? So if we need 2.7 million and we have 650 students at this school, right? We break that down per year, per month, per week, per day. It's only $2.50 a day because we are accepting 5-year pledges. So we, of course, are not expecting anyone, while we'd love it, to just write some grain check to us. We have all different ways to get there. We accept company matches. I mean, there's really a ton of different ways. But we say that to, we understand that every single person can't or won't give. So these are really when we're asking for those transformative gifts from our family, that stretch gift. We have our annual fund every year, which is kind of just, happens naturally. But this is when we're like, just give a little to get our kids on those campuses.
And so everybody always asks me the same question, which is, well, how much should I give? I personally think we should all give everything we possibly can, right? That's my job to feel that way. So here's just some buckets of ways that people have been giving, and that we're kind of hoping that people will identify with one of these buckets. And you can see the total that we needed to raise that 7.5, and then on the other side is how many gifts in each of these ranges we've already received. And so, you'll be asked to join these people in the upcoming year in giving to this capital campaign in a way that works for you. And again, like, a lot of people have just a monthly payment that they make automatically. Some people are doing stock transfers all at once. Most of it is 5-year pledges. Company matches count. So there's just a lot of ways to get there over a 5-year period of time. And then there will be the second phase. We anticipate the second phase coming in shortly after the first phase concludes. And so in the first phase, we need to raise 7.5. That builds all the infrastructure for the actual building. And so in the second phase, we should have a much smaller amount that we need to fundraise for. The building is much more than $10 million with the land and everything else. But what we've done is we've figured out how much we need to fundraise for in order to keep tuition at an affordable level, right? Yes, there will be some debt that we take on and debt payments that we make for the building because we won't raise the full amount for that building. And so what we've done is we've said, here's the preliminary building costs, here's how much we need to fundraise so that this cost of the building can be spread out across all of the students and not result in a huge tuition increase. We are really dedicated to keeping that community feel at the affordable tuition level. So we would love for you guys to contact us, or at least not ignore me when I email. No, just kidding. And we're always available to go for a walk on the property. I think that's my favorite thing to do now, even in the cold. It's gorgeous. Like, you can walk through it, you can see it. It's huge. And we'll probably be having some kickoff parties on the property in the fall. We're going to have to be very creative about it, maybe using the public bathroom at the park. But I just wanted to pause and see if there were any questions. We have lots and lots of information. I could literally stand here until you guys all had to go to work or pick your kids up. So,
and this landing page will take you to our capital campaign website. There you can select scheduling that walkthrough with us. If you're like, I have 30 minutes, I'm just curious, I just want to see what it looks like. Or we also put in there a request for Rev with the Rev. If you want to go grab coffee with the Reverend at Rev Coffee and just pick his brain, learn some more, you can do that there starting like next week. So please, text us, call us, just you're curious, we're here to answer all your questions.
Yeah, you don't have to be ready to pledge or give to get together with us and talk about the plans. We are happy to talk about them and provide the floor plans, naming opportunities. We have all that stuff as well.
Yes, all those, that list that you saw with the different amounts, most things you can name something, which is really cool on campus.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. Questions?
So the timeline, 25, 26 is for the campus, the
Mhm.
open space.
Mhm.
And when does the building start?
Yeah. So our plan is that the building should start shortly after we're done with the field. I hesitate to put a date on there. I put one on and then I took it off. I'm happy to talk about all the reasons that I'm not putting the date on there and publicly announcing that right now, but a lot of that has to just do with campaign strategy and making sure that we are making the ask for that first phase and showing professional donors that we're capable of raising that money. And so shortly after is the answer. I think if we can all focus on, our giving. Also, we would love it if anybody here wants to host a little get-together. We have a capital campaign committee who will probably be inviting some of you guys into their houses or to the school to just kind of talk a little bit more about why this is so important to them. And then also corporate sponsorships. Like a lot of these schools receive money from corporations because the parents work there, right? And they're making that introduction. And so those are the things we really want to focus everybody on. And also just looking forward to the fact that that first phase is on target for really soon.
And I think one of the things that's hidden in that question, at least as a parent for me, is my kid going to be able to enjoy the new space, right? And one of the things that we're trying to focus on is that this is way bigger than just our children. Part of why we hired somebody, and you guys can go along with that. Christine Fierro is one of our founding parents, and convincing her that asking alumni to come back and raise money for another middle school, because they already raised money for that, and their kids aren't here, and a lot of them left behind finishing up their pledges. Their kids didn't have to go to a private school, but as Ann said, went to an independent or public school for just about as good an education. So this is really about what we're growing Smyrna. So we've become an institution for the city. We are a school of choice for the city. And when your kids graduate, as I did from Holy Innocents, they can look back and remember when it was just a K through 8, a sweet little school that met in the narthex of the church and had facilities that couldn't fit everyone in them. And not that we're going to try to become Holy Innocents, but that seed is planted, grows, and your seed that then will help us grow this is bigger than your kids. Although I know that's what we're all focused on. It's really about the legacy that you leave for the next generation. We did that for you all. So they've done that for you, and we've done that for each other, and now we're doing it for the next generation.
And Stephanie and I are pretty motivated by our own children to get them in, so we do understand that whole motivation.
I've got a kindergartner and a 1-year-old here, so I'm like,
Yeah. So we understand, and we're happy to talk more about that. We do understand how important that is. And yeah, go ahead, please.
The new land that we put in the contract project, that now runs up, all the way up adjacent to the preschool? Is that
Yes. Yeah.
yes. So now it's like if you look at kind of an aerial view of the property, it used to have this little cutout that we didn't own. And we always had our eye on it. Now we've got like the whole chunk. It's like a big rectangle. And take a tour. It is, I think the first time I walked the property, I've seen the pictures a million times and I was floored with just how big it is.
And it is what enables us to put a full court gym on this property. So I don't think we've ever publicly said that, but we had always been planning to put in a half court gym. And then we were worried about how that impeded on field space. And so that sliver enables us to put the full court gym on and still have plenty of green space back there.
This is the athletic gym area. Gives you an idea.
Yeah.
It's a big building.
It's absolutely suited for it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's 3 or 4 lots that are
Wait 2 years when you can just see right across it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that that's how big 5 acres is.
Yeah, again, it's a good bit bigger than this campus. And if anybody wants to go walk over there after this, I've got a change of shoes in my car and a rain jacket.
Unlimited umbrellas.
Yeah, and really big. So seriously, if anybody wants to go, I am happy to walk over there right after this is over, just so you can see the property. But those are great questions.
How many acres does that take up? Does it take up the full?
Yes. Yeah.
You mean
with-
the building or
Yeah,
the building with the property?
That current plan, does that take up all the acres that we currently have?
That's it. Yep. So we had thought about doing multiple phases with the building. Our goal is to put it all in one phase and then move on and focus on this campus.
So this is really quick. So the ask that we're donating right now, is that for phase one? Will there be a separate ask for phase two, or the donation we make now is for phase one?
So I think that's really up to each person and their giving and how they're comfortable doing it. A lot of people who started pledging to this campaign started before COVID. So a lot of people who started pledging, before COVID have upped their pledges as we've gone because they have seen that we're making it happen. It can happen. In some situations, their financial situations changed and they've been able to increase their pledge. So it can happen in any way you want it to happen. You can make the pledge now, and that can be it. You can make the pledge now and increase it later when we get to the building campaign. But that's really just up to you guys.
50 days
For the first phase,
Yeah.
7.
But that is for naming stuff on the building. So if you make a pledge now, that's not like, oh, it wasn't technically for the building, so you can't name something. Like, it's,
Yeah, a third
Yeah.
of all costs go into ground. So
Yeah.
when you look at a building and you
The
say
building.
it's gonna cost $10 million, a third of that all went into the ground in the purchase of the land. So we're already basically a plug and play. We're just bringing the computer on and plugging it in. So the building piece of that, while it's gonna be more expensive than $2.5 million, a third of it went in the ground, and it gets us into, the minds and hearts of folks who can actually expound on the giving that we're doing. So once they see that we're doing what we can do and we're all in, they're the ones that come in as community partners and say, well, we can take you further. So our leverage, we've got planned to leverage ourselves at a certain amount, but they may come in and say, you all shouldn't be leveraging yourself. We're going to help you do this in the second phase. So they may be a part of that too.
We also have this fantastic situation where we have a new crop of kids every single year. And so with you guys leading the way, just like there's a lot of people in these seats who have already pledged and have already started giving, and they're going to invite you to join them, you guys will be inviting those parents who are not here yet to join you in giving. And so that's how this works. We're so fortunate to have that, but there will be like 3 or 4, 5 more classes of kids. And every year we will invite them to give with us. And so I think a good part of that 2.5, when I'm looking at it all, should come from that. And hopefully also we'll have proven to professional donors that we can do this and that we can be successful and that our community is supporting us. And maybe they'll even want to support us again too. So those are all really great questions. Yeah. Just that 0.6 acres. That has to go through zoning, and then we will do a plot consolidation. And
The hope is most of what zoning is traffic. We've already figured that out. We've already said we're going to help with the traffic study. Anyone who drives out of here since the school started knows that that's a dangerous intersection. We're being kind and helping to solve that problem. But with that, all we're doing, we're adding more square footage to the plan that we presented to them. So there's going to be a little change in the variance. And then that is a R20, real estate, residential, to what we are here and over there, which is industrial office.
so we're not increasing headcount at all. And that is the big thing with zoning, is we've bought more land for the same number of students. And so that should solve, like that was one of the things we were getting pressure on when we went through zoning the first time is, well, why didn't you pick up that other piece of land? And the answer was it wasn't for sale yet. A lot of companies went to get that piece of property under contract, couldn't get the 0.6 acres, and ended up not being able to do what they needed on the property. The property became available shortly before we started zoning on the first part of it, and it was too late for us to add it and not have to start the process over again. So that was definitely a God thing. We are so fortunate, and we feel good about it. So no more kids, just more space. Yeah, any other questions? You guys all thinking about whether or not you have...
It's going to be distributed among the 3 core buildings.
So we've got a master plan. We have a few things that we have not finalized yet. So again, like, I'm happy to sit, talk, obtain feedback from everybody about what your thoughts are. But basically it'll be 6th, 7th, and 8th on the new property. And then behind that will be the current South Campus. There'll be children still on the South Campus. It'll be some combination of probably 5th, 4th, maybe 3rd. And then we still have the Hive and this campus. So we're basically just gonna stretch people out and move them across the campuses so that there's fewer kids on each campus. We're just debating a few things before we kind of roll it out.
Like as of today, how does the cafeteria, the library, and things work for the kids, like in the current situation? Is there only one, or each campus has something?
Do you want to? I mean, one of the things about COVID that we learned coming back is that our students actually enjoy being in the class, and the teachers do too. And Ann can speak a little bit about how we made that decision and why a cafeteria isn't the focus. An auditorium for all of us is on the other campus.
Yeah, so in this campus, what we learned with the younger students is what we used to do pre-COVID was all of the grade levels went down into Parish Hall, and they had essentially 3 lines, 3 rows of tables. So one class would eat in this row, one class would eat in this row, one class would eat in this row. 3 sections for every grade, right? So all of kindergarten ate at one time, all of first grade ate at one time. What we learned during that was it's distracting for especially the younger ones, the kindergartens, first graders, even second graders, to be in a space that large and to have that many people in a room and for them to focus on their food. So we took away the cafeteria mainly because of COVID, but when we came back after COVID, what we learned was that they actually eat better and they actually do better when they're in their classrooms. And during that time, it's an intentional time for the teachers to do a read-along, so we can build auditory comprehension during that time, where the teachers can actually read to them and then talk about what they've just learned and talk about inferencing. It's a time to work in some of the skills that we're already working at this young age with. So we take every opportunity we can to build auditory comprehension. For those of you who don't know exactly what that means, it means when your children won't listen to you, they don't have really great auditory comprehension. My 19 and 22-year-old are still struggling with that.
Spouses have another problem.
Well, that's a whole nother issue. So what we use that time intentionally to make sure we're building on some of those skills that we sometimes we work into the classroom, but it gives us another opportunity to build. So a great example is there might be a story that the teachers are reading to the students that's above their grade level, but still giving them an interesting story that they can read during lunch. And then they talk about what did we learn yesterday? What do you think is going to happen next? So it gives us a really great opportunity to build on reading comprehension kinds of things. Carrie Painter, our librarian, does a fantastic job of recording some things. Sometimes they just take extra time with some things that they're learning in social studies and science, and they play some videos during that time that build on what they've already done in the classroom. So it actually has turned into a time where they can eat, they can focus on getting that food, and then they can also focus on building some of the curricular things that are making them two things at one time. They still get the socialization because they're still going outside as a grade level and having recess together. So for those of you who have preschool parents who don't have elementary, all of our kindergartners play at the same time, all of our first graders play together. So they still get that time to build those friendships with other students in other classes. That has not gone away. We prioritize recess, as y'all know, all the way through 8th grade. So that is a privilege. That's an expectation. That's not a privilege. So that is never something that's taken away from them. And they use extra recesses as rewards. So they get sometimes extra recesses throughout the week. But it turned into some of the things that we learned during COVID about the lunch and the cafeteria. We're taking that right now when we are building upon that in the classrooms, giving them a chance to not do that. I don't think not having a cafeteria is a bad thing for them right now, but I think when they get older, they do enjoy having that, and that would be worked into the plan.
And I actually saw middle schoolers in the cafeteria for the first time this week, or last week when it was so cold. So they love eating outside and being with their friends, and then immediately running and playing. So they don't have to wait. There is one more objective that is not as exciting as all the others, and that's we are trying also to keep a 4-month running So our fifth objective is all financial. When you look at other schools and they don't announce something like this, it means they have an endowment. And that's something that we are not doing yet. If somebody came along and said they wanted to do that, we would ask them to please give to the capital campaign, because this is where our needs are. As we settle into a campuses that fit everybody comfortably, and we're able to do whatever phase the next phase is, and maybe even as I'm an ex officio somebody on the board, that'll happen later. So any other questions? That sort of rounds out all of our objectives. Behind all of this is a lot of tactics that the team and I are working on in workbooks, and we measure that in Excel spreadsheets. Christy's favorite thing to keep track of things on. So, you know, we've got the red, yellow, and green that all Gantt charts have, and when they're due, who's in charge of them, and then underneath those objectives are many, many tactics. So, good deal. Yeah. So yeah, direct everybody. This is on our YouTube page. If somebody says I didn't see that, direct them two places. One, the buzz. We're trying, people keep saying, well, we don't read the buzz. The alternative to that is to send out too much information, and then not everyone gets it. So we're trying to streamline that. Right, Katrina, anything more to say about go to the buzz? And that's where you also find a link to this. So if somebody says to you, I wish I could have made it, this will be recorded there. Good. Thanks, you guys. See you in carpool.